Hey, you hear that noise in the background? That's my 3D printer running. And before I 3D print anything, I always go through a quick process of bed leveling. I've looked online in many places to find a good bed leveling kind of process, but I've developed my own over time from just an amalgam of the many things that I've read. And today I want to show you what my process is for leveling the bed on my Creality Ender-3. What we're going to print today is I have this Commodore VIC-20 keycap, but unfortunately the plunger for the keycap is broken. So we're going to attempt to print a replacement. And you can see this is a complicated part just because there's only 4 points of contact that will make on the printer when it is being printed. Okay, this is the technique I use to level my Creality Ender-3. It has worked for me so well, I thought I would share because there are a lot of videos online that show how to level the beds, and there's a lot of routines built into Cura, built into HOWTO print, which I'm using here. There are techniques online, and they were all just seemed way too complicated. So I'm just going to use a simple process that has worked for me. That's kind of an amalgam of a lot of the different things that I've seen. So let me go ahead and bring up my controls. And then I like to take the scraper that comes with the Creality Ender. Now this is the glass bed, and I do have a blog post at stephencombs.com about this particular bed that I'm using. This is probably not the best thing to do for all beds, but for this glass bed, this works fine. And what I'm going to do is just very lightly, I'm going across to see if I can find any leftover material, and there's a little hiccup right there. So I'm going to just lightly pull that off, and you can see that piece of material right there. And just keep lightly going across that. Again, you're not pushing down, you're just trying to see if you can find some remnants of PLA that have been left from previous prints. And because this is glass, I'm not too worried about this scraping and causing any damage. So once I have that, it seems pretty good. There's a little bit of plastic there. I found these great little Welby pre-moistened lens wipes. They're typically designed for glasses. They're streak-free. I don't know if that really matters, but it's just basically an alcohol wipe. And I open that up. And they're really convenient. You buy them by the big bulk. And of course you could just use regular alcohol, probably a cotton ball if you don't want to do that. And then I just wipe this down really well. Now as I'm wiping, the other thing I'm doing is I'm definitely throwing this thing out of bed level because the springs on the bottom of this do not, they really can't hold up to this kind of pressure as I'm pushing down. And you'll see that from past prints, I'm not going to get this thing perfectly clean, but I'm going to do my best here. Now is the time that we want to level the bed. Now there are lots of things online that tell you where to put the head in the bed and relationship. I've really made this easy. So what I do is I simply go to the home. Then the next thing I'm going to do is go to the home position for the height. What you should not do is go ahead and start moving that around. But what I'm going to do is just raise it a little bit. And then we're just going to move it to the different corners. I'm going to move it over just a little bit more so that we are about 70 and 70. Next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and take that back home. Everything looks good. I'm going to go back up 10. Now this is the part where we're going to level everything. So what I'm going to do now is take a sheet of paper. I'm going to go back home. Okay, now I've leveled this bed several times in the last couple of weeks, but what you should be able to do is right now, you should be able to barely pull that through. And I can without tearing the paper, so that's perfect. If it moves freely, that's probably not where we want. So, but right there, that is about perfect. I'm having just a little bit of struggle pulling it, but not much, just barely pulling it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you what that would look like if it weren't right. So if I could do this, or I can just move it, that's probably not close enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate the dial under here clockwise until it stops moving freely. And I can start to feel the pressure. I can feel, okay, now it's getting harder. And it's still harder, but I can still move it. You can see I'm moving it without crimpling the paper. And that's pretty good right there. Now I can't move really one way. I can pull back, but I can't push. It's that push movement that I'm kind of looking for. And then we'll just kind of pull it. So that looks pretty good. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift that. And then we're going to go to the next position. 170, we'll do exactly the same thing again. Take it back home. And you can see that I have, this one actually feels like it's a little too close. So I'm going to back this up counterclockwise. Okay, so there we go, moving free, moving free. I can still move it. I can still move it, and perfect. And then we'll come back up. Okay, now we're going to do that for the other two corners in the back. And then I also like to go back one more time at the very beginning and then do a center. And that's perfect in the center. It's just barely, I can just barely pull that out. So perfect. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll go back to Cura and we'll see if we can start a print. Okay, I've brought the part that I'm printing. This is the Plunger STL file that I found on Thingiverse. And you can see I'm not adding any additional build material. We're just going to print straight from the STL file. You will see that it will do a small thin skirt around the model. And the model is very small. It actually connects, it looks like 4 points, and I think I mentioned 4 points throughout the video, but it's actually 2 points. So we will print this using Octoprint. So I'm going to send this STL file over to the printer now. If we take a look at the results, we can see we've got a very good skirt line here that's really bound well to the surface, print surface. This is pretty solid. You can see this had very few points of connection. So we've got just those 4 points. There's no build surface underneath, nothing I have to trim off. And let's go ahead and see if we can remove it. Trying to decide how I want to do this. And it just popped right off. You can see it's nice and clean. Put that back here, and you can still see our skirt is on here. Let's go ahead and try and remove the skirt. See how that comes off in our cleaning. And I'm going to shake the video a little bit because the camera is right on the same table. And there we go. That is coming off nicely. And you can see the skirt right there. So I would think that that is a pretty good bed leveling for this particular part. Minimal cleanup, got some spider webs there, but other than that, that is a pretty good print. Now let's check the results. Here's our printed piece. Here's the original plunger for that keycap. And I'm not sure if the size is exactly right, but oh, look at that. It looks like if I push that in there, it's got a nice tight fit. So I should be able to replace that in the Commodore VIC-20 keyboard, and it should work perfectly. Nice, 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 nice. And that's my process for leveling the bed on my Creality Ender-3. Hopefully you'll find that helpful if you are new to printing using the Ender-3. Also, if you are interested in other posts I have for this particular printer, be sure to check out my blog at stephencombs.com. So as part of this video, we also had a little fun repairing a Commodore VIC-20 by printing a key plunger. If you'd like links to that STL file and some additional information, be sure and check out the notes below. But get more information by checking out the companion blog post at stephencombs.com. Also, be sure and hit subscribe below so that you'll receive notifications when I release additional videos. Thanks for watching this video on how to level the bed on a Creality Ender-3.